This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Good morning, everyone. How nice to be with you today.
Nice to be anywhere today. in this time, space, locality. Right. We have an exciting show today. We're going to be talking about what is true power. From the perspective of consciousness, we are seeing in the world, that's interesting how I ran that together. So what is true power from the perspective of consciousness? Because we're seeing in the world today examples of power and powerlessness, defiance, resistance, and dominance. Yeah. And we'll talk a lot about, or maybe we won't, about external power and inner power and how you can regain a sense of empowerment in your life.
We all need it.
Yes. Yes.
We're all doing it. It's just what place we are in the scheme of things with it, right?
Yes.
It's all spectrum. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And if you want to join us in the conversation, you can call us at 844-390-8255. So that's to call in and talk to us directly when the show is live. It is 844-390-8255.
What's today going to be all about? So what do we need to let people know? Cause I've misplaced my script right in front of me.
Oh, great. I'm happy to do a lot of talking on that kind of thing. Cause you do the talking on the other kind of thing. So in the practical reality of things, ways to get in touch with us and connect with us beyond the show and events we may be happening. We each have websites. So my website is joan-newcomb.com. And actually, we have a brand new website. Our website is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. So you can actually go to consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, and you can click on my page, which will lead you to my website. You can click on Janet's page, which will lead you to her website. And you can get all this information from this main website, which is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And you can find out about the things I have going on. I have meetups around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, University Place, Lakewood, and Olympia. I do conscious conversations around the Puget Sound, gathering people to talk about consciousness. I also put out YouTube videos talking about all these issues from the perspective of consciousness and tips and techniques for how to navigate your life with more consciousness. And if you want to get up close and personal with me, I actually have coaching programs that you can work with me one-on-one and transform your life in as little as 12 weeks. How about you?
And I recommend them to everyone all the time because working with Joan is just great. She brings an efficiency to all this, which is really nice. It works, right? It's like what works.
For all the non-definition of consciousness, I'm all about science, reality. And Janet, you've got some exciting stuff because you do meetups as well, right?
I do meetups here in the Portland, Oregon area for those people that are local to us. And that's on Tuesday evenings, Thursday afternoons, and Conscious Conversations with Janet and Consciousness Playground. And we do what we do here with you, and we do it in small groups, live. It's a whole lot of fun. It is incredibly profound at times. We had a great experience last night for the people that were here. And, this work is so different from so much that's out there and available. And that's not to cast any aspersions or anything that says those aren't good things. But when you shift your focus to consciousness at play, which is what Joan and I are all about, and in sharing with you, our listeners, it's a different way of experiencing day-to-day life. And Joan, you and I know what a difference it makes. And we like to share that with all of you out there. So do it through Meetup in the Puget Sound area with Joan. Do it here with me in Portland. Do it with us on our free conference call once, the third Thursday of the month. There we go. Third Thursday of the month. For those of you that are outside of our areas, wherever you might be, you can call in, and for that hour, we do what we do here, but we really make it up close and personal, unique to you, which is always what happens in group. You don't know what's going to show up till people show up with their stuff, and that makes it wonderful. So
yeah, I find with my meetups that people ask, well, is there a topic? And it's like, oh, not till everyone shows up, because I ask everybody, why are you here? And then they say, and then topics bubble to the surface. So everyone, it's a co-created experience between all the different consciousnesses.
Well, you and I are very firm in the understanding and reality set that we are all one. Under the individuality of what the body matrices look like, consciousness is everywhere. And so we are engaging ourselves in what comes up in your experience and what's you're noticing in your reference of the world today or this week is someplace within me also. And so you might be providing the avenue, the entry point into a conversation that I haven't recognized yet. That's the power of a group. That's the power of doing all this. So
that's also an interesting topic or aspect of power that we weren't thinking we were visiting today. But yes, the power of the collective in here, as well as the power of just consciousness is power, and it may not feel like power to a lot of people because it doesn't feel like dominance.
Good awareness. Yes.
I'm so smart. I am smart.
You're so aware. Oh my gosh.
I am awake and aware and caffeinated today. Yes. Oh, well, a couple things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, no, there's just a couple other things in letting people know how to get in touch with us as well. But, if you go to Conscious Conversations with joanandjanet.com, you should be able to find out about our YouTube channel. And we're also on Twitter at Joan and Janet. And you can also find us on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. So all those links will also be on our website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. So, and this is, look at this enjoyment we're having over around a subject that most people don't even hold in a user-friendly position, do they?
Especially stuff coming up in the day, the things coming up in the news, especially today, but it may is our power issues, and people are having power struggles, and people are feeling powerless, and people feeling like people have power over, and people are trying to gain more dominance, and all this stuff doesn't feel like any fun at all, unless you do see it as a game, which I suspect at least one of the players does. But anyhow.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's an interesting, if we use the word in the terminology game, that's puts it into a certain frame of reference. So some people are comfortable with that, some people aren't. I think it's just a matter of not being attached and being able to view how you observe the demonstration of information flowing around you and through you, and how that sets up how you choose to experience yourself. We're always powerful. It's just how we choose to engage it, from what perspective. Energy moves. There is energy. But it's all within potential. And how we're going to utilize it and play with it in your lifetime, my lifetime, and my daily moment, your daily moment, all of our daily moments. We're always powerful. It's just how you choose to relate to it.
See, and I would reframe that, that we are consciousness. And so as consciousness, we are power. We are powerful as consciousness.
I'm presuming that.
Yeah. So we're saying the same thing with different languages and maybe a slightly different tweak. But, and so I think that's the thing that, that's my main message to people, is that you are consciousness, because we don't identify as consciousness. We think that's something we have or something we can attain. But we're still these little babies that can't change their own diapers. And as consciousness, you're manifesting all of this.
I think it's the perspective of realizing what you are as opposed to what you believe in. So, I presume already for myself that I am consciousness in action. And so I don't mean to say that no one else is. We all are, right? So I'm already presuming I'm expressing from that place. So I don't always couch it that way, but yeah, it's not me from an egocentric place. It's me from there you are, the flow place. Right?
Yeah, right. And people are confused because they read it, they see it from an egocentric space. They are afraid of their power from an egocentric place. So it is going to be really interesting to do this from heart space. And so we are going to take a commercial break right now, but stay tuned because we're going to be talking about what is true power in a state of grace from heart space when we come right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. I'm along here with Janet. We are talking about what is true power.
What is true power? I think it's the power to choose, right? I mean, for me, it depends on what reference you're in with it. So power is the ability to act. I think that's kind of one of the definitions. So
Janet, and I'll come right in here going, that's an expression of it. And my interpretation from that same level would be that it's information plus energy equals power. But what we were saying just before the break is, my perspective is that we are consciousness and consciousness is power. Consciousness is source.
Totally. Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
But the definition you were saying, which I think you just looked up, was the expression of it in the world.
Right.
Is through, people expect it to be, oh, this is great. People are expecting it to be through action. And really, you and I know it's through being.
Yes. That's the power of the beer who does as opposed to the doer who bees. And that's really the change that's all about. We're all striving to be the beer who does. And then the doing comes out of inspiration, comes out of expression. And,
yes.
Yeah. So, well, let's get into it. Let's see if we can access some heart-centered awareness here with us and our listeners, and see where our inner conversations take us today. So, everybody, wherever you are, remember in consciousness there's no time and space. So we're just going to allow for where you are listening at this moment, or in whatever moment you are in that you're listening with us and following along, to just shut your awareness down a little bit about the outside. And just notice your interior space. So that immediately takes us to the physical expression of what heart is, which is the physical heart. So just shift your awareness there. Be filled with gratitude and appreciation for no matter what condition it's ticking in, it's ticking and beating. It is your symbol of life, your signal that you're alive and in a form. And an embodiment. And so there we go. There we go. All right, everybody. Those shoulders are dropping. And there is a little shortness of breath there. So there is some constriction. There is some shock. There is holding on. So just notice that. And let that shift. And it's just in the awareness of the noticing that can so often change things. So we go to the second meaning of heart, emotional resonance. Yeah. And from a neutral perspective, just notice you might have lots of different emotions running. Might have one, might have several. That's fine. Don't judge it. We tend to want to judge our emotions. And we don't need to. There we go. That deepens it. And then the third meaning of heart, which is core, essence of all. And this is the field of unified consciousness. This is where you and I meet, where we are all one, free of the form, just into that infinite sea of potential, where there are photons of light, photons of biomass, resonances, vibrations, and information. Information is our stories. Information falling in patterns. And this is where things come apart, where we can just be present. It is the now. And we'll bring Anne's awareness of the whale. I love this, that blue whale, and sitting inside the heart that's the size of a VW bug. Picture yourself in a VW bug. And just that deepening sense that that is all that is present. There is no story here. There's just bits and pieces. And so we can look at ourselves in our world, and we can be ourselves as consciousness expressing. So just notice what you notice today with us. All right, Miss Joan, what do you see there, feel there?
I knew you were going to ask me that question.
There's a certain predictability.
Well, this always happens. I had a whole laundry list of things to contribute on the whole topic about what is true power. And then you take us into heart space, and, resting in heart space, all those daily issues are no longer issues. I will have to say, though, when you did ask that question, I suddenly had this feeling of, when you're in a plane and you're soaring, mm-hmm. You're up above the cloud cover. Mm. And you can look down below, and you're in beautiful sunlight, and then you look below, and sometimes you're flying over a bunch of, cotton balls. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes you're actually flying over storms and things, but you're above it all. It's a different sensation than, dropping into heart space feels like you're going deep into the ocean. So, but it's a similar sensation because, if you're deep beneath the ocean, you're also not feeling the typhoon that's going on up above. It's not affecting the deep ocean currents. Mm-hmm. And what I'm noticing is most of the people, it appears, are stuck on the surface level. So they're in the ocean currents. They're in the storm that's going on. They're feeling tossed like leaves on the waves. So how many analogies can I throw in here? Yeah. And we're forgetting who we are at our essence and where our true power is from. So when you're down there being battered, you feel like you're being battered. You feel like you're this little tiny insignificant thing. And when you rest in heart space, you're part of the immensity of all of this. And none of that's an issue anymore.
Well, that's what power is, right? Yes. We don't even recognize it. Because in being in this place where we are, it's like there's no them, me. All those definitions and senses of separateness fall away. And maybe that's a different way to think about being in power and being powerful, is you sense the immenseness. And it's not you little and something else bigger. It's you as big as the immenseness. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Resting in the immenseness of all that. And I can just hear all the little voices not comprehending that.
How can all of us be immense? Because if everybody's a big guy, then there's nobody to boss around. But
right. There's no victim.
Yes.
There's no victim in this. See, that's the powerful, powerless discussion, I think. It's not even about that. I think that's what we've allowed it to become. But in this place, sitting in my VW size heart, it's not even a concern. And and in your overseeing perspective, that's not a concern. There are no concerns here. There's just about being. And then there's the expression that comes into awareness and it moves you. That's what power is, I think. It just totally changes the conversation.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about, do I want to say this on the air? Yes. So I mean, I've been aware of this, but I had a very clear awareness as we're talking about that, there's one person in the news today who's upsetting the apple cart, and he is viewing the entire thing as a game. Mm-hmm. He is playing it as a game. He's speaking off the cuff. He's saying what he's thinking, because to him, it's all a game. And the other people who are more invested in the game are taking it much more seriously. And everyone's kind of, squawking all about this person who's actually having the time of their life. And I think that's the appeal of that person, that people are seeing them enjoy themselves, even if it's at the expense of other people. But, they're enjoying themselves, and people want that sense of freedom and enjoyment.
Well, I think we hold power in different ways. And there's power over self. There's power over others. There's power demonstrates itself in many ways. And there's the power to hurt. There's the power to help. There's the power to heal. There's the power, which is just expressing the dynamic that's got energy into it, right? And how are we as individuals using ourself, right? Because everyone's going to have a different sense and a different relationship to power. And for some of us, we hold that to be almost a sacred experience. That my power to be compassionate and your power to be compassionate leads us to this place. And other people might not value that.
Yeah.
They might have a different sense of that, right? So that's how we see this, how this plays out, how we relate to it. How do we use it? Are we using it for or against or whatever?
My feeling with this, I totally agree with you, and the insight I gained with what you were just saying too is the example I was giving is somebody, even though they're playing it as a game, they're still on an egoic level. Mm-hmm. Because if you realize that it's a game and you play it as consciousness, you have no inclination to dominate or insult or hurt or any of those things. You don't upset the apple cart, so to speak, from the perspective of consciousness. And I can tell when we go into heart space, it's all harmonious. And you realize that everyone in there are other aspects of ourselves. You don't have the inclination to get hurt, upset, or angry either, because you are the source of all of this. So you're enjoying the unfolding of all of this. Mm-hmm. It's completely different. And you can know it's a game. And then also the other thing I find is knowing that it's a game is that then I don't need to react to any of it. I'm in responsive mode rather than reactive mode.
And I hope I can say this right. That's power.
Mm-hmm. That's power.
Consciousness is powerful enough, because that's all there is, in allowing for all expression. It's not judging. It's not saying that's us. That's the human quality that says this is right, wrong, whatever. Consciousness just allows. And I can't think of anything more powerful than that. You can have your viewpoint. I can have mine. Mm-hmm. And the irreconcilability of it is still allowed. The coming together, the moderation, the compromise, all these different ways that these viewpoints can be held without reserve. And it's how we choose to align from within our own sense.
Well, what's so funny is that in consciousness, it's that there is no irreconcilability in consciousness. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, right.
And there's a total acknowledgement that this planet is one of opposites. You know, this is a planet of dichotomy. And so and the amazing thing is from consciousness is both sides are true, as well as both sides are an illusion. So both sides are real and not real at the same time. And you know what, if I use the analogy of this life being like this full immersion online Second Life kind of video game, then any game anyone is playing in this, including the game of victimhood and powerlessness, is a valid game. Because it's just you've put on the meat suit and you're trying out this experience. So even the most powerless feeling or seeming person in all of this is an equally powerful creator.
I think this is a time of self-leadership, and it's about self-empowerment, right? It's about things happen, and for me, what's really become obvious in group and things recently, this last month, I think I could say that, is how things are unfolding. Now, we can take the viewpoint that it's very chaotic and the world is breaking down and all that, and I really want people to hear that, because what if it's an unfolding, not a breakdown? What if it's an unfolding? And if you look at the energy behind the word unfolding, you can feel it undoing. When you use the word break, that's a harsh word. That is something that's that's stiff and has to break open. That's not unfolding. So if we can, and so what I have found myself doing to find a new way of being in all this upheaval is it's unfolding in order. That's been very helpful for me because there's been a lot of flack out there and you never know where something's going to come at you. There's a lot of shrapnel flying around here.
Well, and the thing is, with this, you said it was this is a time of self-leadership. I see it as a time of increased light, increased consciousness, increased awareness. It's bringing in the sense of self-leadership because our bodies are now vibrationally more able to receive us as consciousness. Therefore, we're having more sense of empowerment, more sense of choice, more sense of seniority and authority. And within this all being a game is that you still can be playing the game of powerlessness, the game of victimhood or whatever. And you're still powerful. You're a powerful creator in this. So I think the majority of us are becoming more aware of this sense of self-leadership. We're becoming more aware of this embodiment in a way that is confusing for people when you do come from a paradigm of, dominance and victimhood kind of stuff. It's confusing for people to have that incredible sense of power. It's kind of scary to have that sense of power. And, there's still places in the world where it's a different paradigm. And I just, what I was realizing in all this is that it's all good. The game is still going on and we're feeling the sense of evolution. We're able to have this awareness, this discussion.
Yeah. I don't know. Are quantum leaps quick and easy?
You would think you'd imply it by the it's implied.
Idea of a leap, but really there's no time or space. So how long is that leap?
Yes, it's all of this is happening instantaneously and simultaneously.
Right.
There is no time or space. We get a better sense as consciousness. We get a better sense of it happening faster rather than going through the evolutionary phases of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the quality of consciousness is, things happen in a blink of an eye. Life happens in the blink of an eye to consciousness.
And we can feel it that way.
It's like a dream. You wake up from a dream, you've had this really long, involved dream. You think it's gone on for decades and you wake up and you've been asleep for 10 minutes.
Yeah. That is the nice thing about time sometimes. So what else are we noticing out there?
Now I want to talk about time.
Yeah. Well, it seems kind of quiet.
Doesn't it? People are humming.
Yeah.
People are humming. When they're in this space, there's no conflict. You could be purring, I guess.
Right. Well, there's that sense of peace.
Yeah.
And so let's notice it because daily life is full of stuff. And we're saying yes. And it's full of this too. And so I think that's where I started with about power, the power to choose, the power to frame our awareness and create our realities. And that's the action of, and how that's important. From this space and you listen to yourself in your daily life and you interact with others and you realize how many choices you do have. And there are certainly those things where we don't feel we have a choice. And yes, that's true too in that reality. And then there's lots of places we can be making choices. And so what we choose to align ourselves from within about. And we need to value that. We need to recognize that. And the smallest choice can really change the habituated experience. Because most thoughts are habituated.
Right.
And maybe it's about picking the apple out instead of the date or the candy bar or whatever. Sometimes the smallest acts can just spread like wildfire.
Yes. So that it's like a baby step.
Yeah.
It is making a different choice. It sends you off into a different trajectory. So it doesn't have to be freaking hard. It's not like, you're climbing Mount Everest, but it is simpler, easier than you think.
I think that's important too, as we re-encode these new states of awareness that we have, is that you're not who you were when you had the original thought to begin with. And that story is done. We're the only ones that are keeping it active. So as you allow yourself to realize that you're different than whatever started that process for you and pattern, and I'm always having to coach clients and groups about that. Sometimes we're like, well, I'd like that to be different. And why wouldn't you want it to be different? Well, because of this, that, and the other thing. And it's the place where intention and expectation are different. And you go, well, but you know so much more. Are you that person right in this moment? Is that possible for it to be different? And you really have to bring people to that moment of awareness, and they can go, oh, yeah, it's different. I said, all right, you got to update your language. You got to update your memory.
Yes. People can't imagine things being different when they're so ingrained in patterns like that.
And that it has to be difficult. Yes.
Right. They can't imagine breaking out of this thing that has just had them in its grips for, years, or I was born this way, or this happened to me as a child, and so I'm always going to be this way. I'm crippled or whatever. And,
and that doesn't have to be physical crippled.
No, it's like feeling emotionally disabled by this thing. And here, we do a session that shifts them to a parallel universe where that's never happened or whatever. You're giving them the sense of empowerment. And, it can be challenging because the mind wants to reset it back to the way it was. It's like, I can't imagine. So the thing I love is it's almost like the concept of willingness. Willingness is a wonderful bridge step to making, huge transformation, is you can become willing to make that change. And I use it in the terms of being open-minded and stepping into something new without a preconceived notion. And it then allows you to step into that new trajectory, that new way of being, and to discover what's different, and to actually to receive something that you couldn't imagine. I had a whole discussion this weekend with a couple of different meetup groups about stepping into parallel universes without an agenda, without an intention, because what you're setting it from, the specifications that you're using is from your limited thinking, from the thinking that you're in now, as opposed to as consciousness, there's infinite possibilities, including ones you haven't imagined. So try stepping into it that way.
That's really powerful, what you're talking about. In inviting something new just because it's new, and not having the intention that you have to fix something or heal something or create something, but just from a place of allowing. And the difference in that, and you can feel it if you're paying attention. And so often we think there's something wrong with us, with the world, and we gotta fix it, or I can't fix it. And that's another way to involve our power. And if you just invite that everything is all right and start from that place, as consciousness, everything's all right, and that there is a sense of well-being within you, then that allows you that act of play. And what can come out of that. And so I love the idea of the parallel universe experience without anything other than the play of a parallel universe. That's important. We do those kind of things. It was interesting last night in group where we hold them here in my house, and we were all looking out the window, and they were noticing the kids at play down the street. We could see them and hear them. And out of, I don't know, half the group went, I don't know how to play. I was never allowed to play. And you went, whoa, right? And how important that is to just be able to do that. So.
Yes. The importance of doing it in a sense of play. It doesn't work if you do it with effort. It doesn't work if you try to control. That's the other thing I was talking to people this weekend is it makes no sense to try to manipulate the hologram. It makes no sense. You're like an actor on the stage moving the sets around and or making the actors change their costumes or something. And what you really want to do is change yourself and step yourself into a different universe where there's different outcomes and different people. And you can try it from your actor self, trying to direct everything, but you don't have a full perspective. The director is out there, on the gurney if this is a movie, or if he's out there, sitting in the audience, and he gets a bigger picture of what everything is going on. It's what happens when we manifest from our egoic level. There's always a loophole. There's always something that goes wrong. He's Mr. Perfect, except that, he can't get it up, or, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, with a sense of play and agreement and harmony, you're doing this as consciousness, and suddenly it becomes a benevolent universe. Suddenly everything does unfold, not only in your favor, but in everyone's favor, because you're in that sense of harmony in form.
Well, we were talking, or you mentioned a while ago about the collective and the power in a collective. And that's a morphic field power often in how like thought collects, or the spectrum of something collects, and through civilization and consciousness and societies and cultures, etc., and all the different biases that are about something, and to go up against that, to try and prove as powerful or more powerful, or if it becomes a game of power, is really kind of silly. Where you start is, there it is, how do I relate to it? That's what we have personal power about. In opening that awareness up of, that's the way that is, but doesn't have to be my connection to it that way. And once again, it brings it back to a level of, okay, how am I able to access this space where I don't play by those rules and reality can shift? And we've been watching that for the last couple of weeks in group. And it's a really wonderful place to be. And to notice what shows up out in the world as a magnification or as a ripple effect of where we hold ourselves to be.
I'm sensing this as you're talking about this. I'm feeling it internally. And the other thing that pops into my mind is how one of the things happens when people come to my meetup groups, and they aren't as regular as yours. Often it's like once a month in each location, and they come away, and the next time I see them, their entire life has rearranged itself. Sometimes it's all fallen apart because it's in the process of falling together. But then sometimes, it's all miraculous. Miraculous things happen, and, they fall into a relationship for the first time in years, or, terrible boss at work has quit and they didn't imagine that was possible. All those things, happen. So there's seeing physical evidence of this internal transformation going on.
It's all our ability to notice things. We had a new fella here last night who has a broad experience of religion and spirituality and those kind of things. And he was new to the group, so I was having to, articulate some of the dynamics that he'd experienced with us. And he'd been all over the world. but he's having issues with being here and where life is found and what he wants to create and stuff. And I'm like, well, what if that wasn't an issue? And sometimes it's that simple, right? We make it all something, but it's like, well, what if that could be different? And where is that in this state of heart-centered awareness? And all it is a moment of awareness.
Yeah. Well, speaking of heart-centered awareness, I invite everyone to hold this heart space that we're in, this lovely floating down a lazy river kind of feeling that we're having right now, because we have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're talking about what is true power in a state of grace, and we'll be right, state of race. Oh, that's another topic. We'll be right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And I'm Joan, along here with Janet. And we are talking about what is true power.
And we're talking during the commercial break about how we're enjoying this conversation of power. And the words that you so often associate with power are abusive, struggle. And I'm just not feeling any of that.
Yeah, I was anticipating I was anticipating these topics can be very contentious is the word I used. And so I was thinking, is there going to be conflict? And there was a little twinge at the very beginning. It's like, well, I have a different definition than you do on this thing. But it's, you get into this sense of heart and it's just, it's like floating in the pool is the feeling. And all those issues become non-issues. So just imagine if you could perceive what is going on in the world, what may be going on in your political situation, because actually it's not just this country. It's been, it's the UK, it's been Australia, the Philippines, everybody's having contentious stuff coming up. And what if you viewed it from her space?
And what if this was everyone's truth? That underneath all of that surface water, right? Or the clouds that are storming and you're above it, whatever perspective you take with it, is that there is a sense of well-being there. And that's what's allowing all of this to undo. And if you shift to that kind of thinking, does that somehow invite your sense of power to be different in how you've been holding that in whatever context that might be? What if we can talk about power and feel good? and everybody's okay. I mean, that might be kind of a novel idea on some levels.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
I think, yeah, you know, and I think it's mostly within ourselves, right? It's our own personal.
And yes, how powerful or powerless we feel is how we're going to react to the world. So one of the things we said in our initial show description was that we would give you external power versus inner power and how you can regain a sense of empowerment in your life. And I think that this coming into heart space does it. Coming into heart space gives it all a sense of perspective.
Yeah, it does. You know, I think we have to give people more credit than we do at times. And certainly the acting out, and we can all have splits and sides to our personalities, and one part of you could be reacting over here and the other part's like smoking a cigarette going, we'll just let them rant rave. You know, you have all that within ourselves, and at heart, all that is because you are all one. You are all one, and all of this and us are all one. And we just need to bring that back to awareness.
Yeah.
Well,
this has been a lovely topic, and I also do want to let folks know that there's another topic coming up next week in terms of time and space. So next week we have a guest. His name is Dwayne Sturenholm, and he's the founder of the United Earth Ecclesia. It's dedicated to the co-creation of the greatest and highest good for all Earth citizens. He's also the author of 2 books, UEE or not UEE. That is the question, whether 'tis wiser to suffer in the modern world or take action against the inequities in it. And he's also the author of the Earth Citizens Guide to Co-creating the greatest and highest good. United Earth Ecclesia seeks to use the global connective power of the internet to change the prevalent competitive mindset of the human race to a more sustainable and prosperous cooperative and collaborative mindset. And their website is xlo.org. So I think that's going to be a fascinating conversation.
It will. It's a great follow-up to to our conversation today, because he's hitting on all these things, and we're going to look at it and play with it with his wonderful awareness of how he experiences himself as consciousness and what he shares with everyone. So we'll look forward to that. And I want to let shivers running here. Interesting.
Great. Okay. Great. So I'm also going to let people know real quick in the last 3 minutes here that we have a new website. It is Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. That's consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And you can go there to access each of our individual websites, Janet's website and my website. You will also see notifications of things like our meetups that we have around the Puget Sound and also in Portland. So there are ways you can connect with us face to face if you're in the Portland area or if you're in the Puget Sound area of Washington. And you can also connect with us on our monthly Conscious conference calls. The next one is August the 18th. At 7 p.m. and you can find that at Conscious Conversations at joanandjanet.com. And the show is also on Facebook, and it's on Twitter, and we're also on YouTube, and you can find all of that at our website as well. Anything else you want to let us know, Janet?
Life is good.
Life is good.
You know, I mean, in all the uproar, and we're all experiencing it on a personal levels. You know, we talk about this from time to time, and we see it everywhere, and we see it in the lives of our clients, and we see it in our friends, and we see it in our cats and dogs and whomever. And what if it's all okay? What if truly there's a sense of well-being? If you're into Abraham at all, and they always have these great dailies that they send out, reminders about things. And they use the word well-being, and it's a nice thing to experience for yourself, and you can do it no matter what your philosophy is out there.
Yes, well-being feels good, and yes. So if you connect with us on our conference call, you can get an up-close and personal sense of well-being that you can take away. And if you meet us in person at one of our meetups, we also, both of us, do these consciousness techniques, this heart space techniques, and ways to navigate life from this expanded perspective. So another way to really sink in, besides binge listening to us on YouTube, you can really sink in this sense that we're talking about and have it in your daily life.
Yeah. What a great way to leave off. So we're not going to take ourselves out of awareness. We're just going to allow our awareness to be present and see how it plays out today, tomorrow, and the rest of your week. And until the next time where we're all together.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for reminding people that this has a ripple effect out into the rest of your life. So if you're having this sense of well-being now, notice when it shows up in your life in other places, because you've given yourself a feeling sense of that.
Yeah. What if it isn't what we think it is, right?
Yes. That's a wonderful note to end on here, and I want to let people know that you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett, and it's just been lovely to be with you today.
Yes, and wherever you are, you've been helping to co-create the show today, because there's no time or space as consciousness. And we'll see you next week, same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.